Good Friday morning, everybody. This is June the 13th, Friday the 13th, and we are here with one of our viewers from right here in Cherokee. She lives here in Cherokee. This is Wendy, and we are happy to have her today. She is going to be our tour guide, so to speak. We are going first stop this morning. We've been wanting to bring a video here for a long time. I haven't been here in years. Been a couple of times when I was small. We came here when our boys were small. But we are at the Oconaluftee Indian Village here in Cherokee, North Carolina. This is a really neat place. It shows how the Cherokee lived and how they made things and how they hunted, and I think you're in for a treat today. And Wendy's going to go through here with us, and we're going to hang out with her today, and she's going to take us around and show us some things, so go with us. Okay, so here's where you enter. Get your tickets right here. Alright, so the tour begins. I don't know if y'all heard that. He kind of talked softly. But he asked not to pet wildlife. He said a guy tried to pet some rattlesnakes. I think he was joking. Very pretty through here. Just like here in the woods. It's very nice.
Alright, this is the finger weaving station. Here there's a few different ways of making these belts. The most traditional kind is called the oblique weave. And this is when you use either seashells or glass beads and weave that into your design. Now, back then we didn't have commercial yarn. We would have been using things like bison or buffalo fur or mulberry root bark fibers. So there you should see down there. After they got commercial yarn, they'd start making single weaves, which will give them their checkered and plaid designs, while double weaves give them more options to work with. And these belts are done completely by hand. There's nothing else involved. Whenever they're making the belts, they can go from being about 10 strands all the way up to 200. Some of them take just a few days, while others take a few weeks to finish. Yeah, any questions here? Now these pieces right here are going to be called scrolled work, and for that you'll take your beads and sew them down the side of your pants legs or at the bottom of a skirt, while these pieces up to my left are going to be called solid work. Now for solid work, they pick up one bead at a time and they'll thread that through to the next. So by the time they're done, they should all be threaded twice.
Is it good to take photos? No problem.
Oh yeah, just
okay.
just no flash if we're here with the crafts person. Just no flash if we're here with the crafter. Don't want to blind them.
Yeah,
That's fine. Now we didn't always have glass beads before this. We would have been using things like teeth, bones, and claws from animals. You can trade with settlers for copper or coastal tribes for your seashells, and then you can make your own clay beads. For the needle and thread, that actually came from a deer's leg. Needles will come from this part of the bone. It's the straightest part, so if you break that, you get 3 to 4 needles out of there. Then you'll take the animal's tendons and use that as your thread. Look a little bit more like this stuff up here.
So Wendy was just telling us she worked here and did that years ago. That's pretty cool.
Yes, yours.
Kind of.
I'm not saying 20MemoryMakers here or anything. Now here at Pottery, the two methods they use are going to be the coil pot and pinch pots. For coils, you'll make a flat disc, roll out strings of clay, and then lay them one on top of the other. For pinch pots, you roll your clay up into a ball, make your opening, and then use your fingertips to give it the shape. Now once these get firm enough to work with, they'll use all sorts of stuff to carve out these designs. You can use pieces of wood, deer antlers, corn cobs, seashells, or even bones. But if you have metal tools, it's a lot easier just to carve out your designs. Then you have them ready to go for when you need them. Now when they're making these pots, after they get their designs on there, if they want to give it a kind of gloss, it doesn't come from any sort of glaze. It'll come from a smooth river stone. Take one of these, get the oils off your fingertips, and then just rub that along the top of the pot. Now whenever they're making these pots, the clay they use normally comes from a store these days. It's a bit faster than getting it the traditional route. If you do it that way, you have to go out to a riverbed or creek bed and dig anywhere from about elbow to shoulder deep until you find a clay that you can pull out of there. Now once you get your clay out of the ground, you can't use it immediately. You actually have to sift through, again, loose minerals and rocks out of there, and that process can take about a month to 2 months. It's a bit faster just to buy it nowadays. Now whenever they're making these pots, for something like a liquid pot, you'll use a fresh corn cob and put that in the top. And when you go to fire this, you're going to point the opening at the fire. They'll cook the insides along with the corn cob, leaving behind some oils you can use to make these waterproof. Any questions here, guys?
Pretty neat.
Well, those little.
That's just, I guess, the design, the little spots on that one.
Oh yeah, that's a fire pot. So it's like for traveling, if you're going to start a fire somewhere else, you'll start one where you're at, take the embers from it and put it in there, and then the spikes are going to help you carry it without burning your fingertips.
Oh, that's smart.
Couldn't ask for a better day to walk through here. It's cool, cool and damp, but not raining.
Now here at wood carving, there's a couple examples of our tools back in the day. This right here would be a common garden hoe. You'd make this out of something like a piece of flint, a stick of rhododendron, and some animal tendons to hold that in place. Another tool we got over here is going to be our drill.
Yeah.
Little spider webs. So just spin it at the top, and then just kind of like that. Pretty easy to use. Just if you use this, put a stone right here, or this will take a lot longer. Now back when we're using stone tools, a lot of our items are made out of things like gourds. You can make them into bowls, canteens, water dippers, rattles, birdhouses, and masks. Hey guys, what's up? That one's in.
Find that one of them buckets somewhere. Hey, just let it careful, don't let it dry out. He look weird, so hey, I'm gonna hang him up there.
Yeah, he's just happy to be here.
Yeah.
Now other things you can make your masks out of are going to be things like tree bark and nests, and your masks are used for dances. So back then, during traditional dances, the lead dancer would wear one of these to show everybody what we were doing. Now we do a bit of trading back in the day, and if we're trading with our coastal tribes, like I said earlier, we trade for seashells. These big ones are going to be used for ceremony. Leave them next to a fire until you can crush them up into powder, mix that with animal fat, and they'll give you a nice white paint for purification ceremonies. They'll talk more about that at the council house, along with the 7 Clans pipe right here. Have any questions here, guys? Oh man. Okay, here at baskets, the more common materials you see these days are going to be things like white oak. White oak will give you these kinds of baskets right here. While more traditional materials will come from river cane and hickory bark. Now, hickory bark's like your work basket. It's a pretty tough material. The only problem is when you start using it, you got a bit of a time limit on it before it dries out. And once it does, there's not really much else you can do to it. So they make for great handles and work baskets. Now if you make them right, this one's been here since 1952. It's taken in the rain, snow, heat, and all sorts of other weather, and it's still doing pretty good.
What, that basket there?
Yeah.
1952. Wow.
From
73.
1952. Oh.
That same basket.
Yes, sir. They made a copy for it, but they've never had to replace it, so it kind of got lost when it got stored, because that one's just doing so good they didn't use it. And now River Cane will give you more of your decoration baskets. Real pretty splints. Only problem with this material is it only comes in certain times of season. So this one took them about 4 months to make, and then with the colors added, it'll take about 6 months. Yeah, a bit time consuming for that. Now, to put colors on your baskets, there's different types of roots and barks, and these are a little bit more permanent than nuts and berries would be. So we use this stuff more often. Yellow root will give you yellow. Walnut will give you brown. Butternut will give you black. And then bloodroot will give you orange. These don't fade over time, so be careful not to get them on your hands or they'll be stuck there for a while. Now here are weapons, things like bows will be made out of hickory and locust, and your drawstring will come from a bear's intestines. Bear gut's actually pretty elastic. We used to use deer, but this stuff's a little bit stronger, so we switched over to bear gut. And then whenever you're making your arrows to go with your bow, your arrowheads can be made out of all sorts of stuff. You know, back then the more traditional pieces would be made out of things like quartz and flint. But nowadays you can usually have whatever type of glass on hand and use that too. Like there's clear pieces and blue pieces down here. That stuff would not be available until like more recently nowadays. If you travel more often though, back in the day, you can get a hold of things like the volcanic glass obsidian. Obsidian was not local at all. This came from either over in Ohio, Yellowstone, or down towards the Gulf of Mexico. It was a pretty long trip, but it was worth it because this stuff was way sharper than what we had over here. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff. They still use it in eye surgery. It keeps a better edge than steel. And now for your arrowheads, there's two different types. The round shoulders will be meant for hunting, while high squares are meant for combat. You wrap this one with plant fiber, so that way if you shoot an animal, you can pull this back out and keep hunting, while high squares will be wrapped with an animal's tendons. If you shoot somebody with this arrow, all of that's going to swell up and loosen. If you try to pull the arrow back out, that gets stuck inside the body. You'll have to cut them out or push them out. And then for this one in the middle, this will be a brass or copper arrowhead. It's pretty much either one. You just wrap it you wrap it with either material and it'll work the same. You can make your sticks out of mountain cane or river cane. Cornbread's coming out a little bit there, sorry. And your tail ends will come from turkeys. Now turkey feathers, you have to get them from the same wing. If you don't, they won't fly straight. If you have a left and a right, it'll go wherever it wants to.
That's interesting. I'll trial and error to figure that out.
Now if you're hunting down animals, like birds, rabbits, and squirrels, you'll be using a blowgun. This is actually the small one. The bigger one's right behind me on this skull. And traditionally speaking, I know how Hollywood tries to paint it. We do not use poisons and tranks. It's strictly just for animals. But whenever you're shooting a blowgun, this will be your dart. The most you do to it is add on this tail end up here, and that'll come from the Scottish thistle. Just a bunch of little fibers packed down in there, like that little white stuff right there. Just pull that out and roll it on your dart. Now while we're fighting people, we don't prefer to shoot people at a distance. I know in the movies and stuff we're on horseback shooting bows and arrows. We actually saw it as very cowardly to shoot a man from a distance unless you were outnumbered. Any other time you would be using a war club. We like to get up close and personal with our enemies, that way they can see who they're fighting before they die. This last one will be for stickball. Now if you don't know what this game is, it's actually still being played nowadays. And so if you're here in October, you'll get to see some of these. But these games were used to solve disputes if we were about to go to war. So instead of going to war, we would try to limit the casualties with this game. Now this game is still really rough. It's like rugby and lacrosse, only you have no pads and no rules. Even today, you'll see people getting punched in the face, kicked in the chest, slammed on the neck. Anything you got to do to score a point, as long as you don't kill the person, it is completely legal.
That's my kind of game right there.
Wow.
It's a game like winner takes all. You know, you're fighting over land. Whoever wins gets that land. Pretty fun game. But yeah, are there any questions here, guys?
Yeah, the target back there. They used to do a blowgun demonstration, did they not? All right. I gotta see this. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh. Good.
We gave that animal a heart attack. That's close.
Do you have to blow like really hard to shoot that far?
No, it's like blowing out a candle.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Only thing is, it's like if the air's moist, it makes the darts a little bit heavier. That way.
That's good.
Okay, good.
Amazing. An animal trap, I take it.
Pretty fun traps. They're like put them up and forget about them kind of traps. Got a little piece of glass in the street. Alright. Now for this first trap right here, along with the houses you're about to get to see, they're going to be 3 times bigger. Now this trap is much larger because we use this one for bears. It's called a deadfall trap. It's pretty easy to use. You just put your bait right down there. The bear will dig around until it knocks that stick out of the way. And then these will be fish traps. Just put this out in the water, hang your bait from the top. The fish will flow in on their own. The spikes on the door are going to make sure they can't come back out. And you have a lid on top to get what you need, and you'll leave the rest for everybody else. Now, traditionally speaking, whenever you go to get the fish out of here, you wouldn't wrestle with them, like, you know, where they're flopping around and stuff. You'd actually take a black walnut, scrape the bark off of it, and drop it in the water. It'll paralyze every single one of them. Take whatever you need, pull the bark back out, and they'll go back to normal in about 2 to 5 minutes.
Wow.
Just nowadays, don't do that. It's technically cheating.
I didn't know that.
Those last 2 are figure 4s. Those will be your birds, your rabbits, and your squirrel traps. Pretty easy. It's just like a scaled down version of this one. You notch out your sticks together into a number 4. Put your bait right there. The animal will knock those sticks down, grabbing that bait, and close the box on top of itself.
I'm pretty impressed with the fish house there.
Yeah,
That's pretty neat.
Get a lot of fish in there, couldn't you?
I had to come look to see what
I was thinking like a wild
Did you see
boar
the
or something.
inside of it there? What rocks in the end?
Oh, I see what it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's something else I can get close up of
It's an
that.
old school dog house right there. Whenever you're ready, we'll be over there at that first house.
Okay.
1800s home. This is made during the French and Indian War and a couple other ones. At this point in time, we got attacked a lot and would eventually have to move. So our families broke off in big groups to make these as fast as possible. They're a little bit more rushed than something like the 1750s homes would be when we're at a more peaceful time in our lives. Now around this era, you did have a lot more resources, so your family was going to be a lot bigger along with your house. Your family could consist of the wife and husband, both of their parents, and then however many kids the wife wanted. Now, it really was up to the woman. Some people would have just about 3, while others could have up to 30. If you ever ran out of room for your kids, you just put them up in the loft.
30 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, if they ever act up, you take the ladder away. If you guys want, you're free to go in here and look around. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
So did this come out of the rivers and stuff?
Yeah, so that'd be
How you gonna get 30 kids in here? You'd have to
You'd
have,
have to have a bigger one. Can you imagine?
You know what he's saying? That reminds me of that movie Apache with Burt Lancaster. Remember how he made up with the Cherokee?
Yeah.
Because see, here it's like Cherokee, the women were in charge.
Yeah.
And remember what Burt Lancaster, he was an Apache. Remember when he said to the Cherokee, he looked and says, "You have a woman and yet you fetch your own water."
Draw your own water. That would work.
That's like the greatest line of any movie ever. Yeah, it's got little trees growing off the top of it.
Alright, now this is a 1750s home. Like I said just a second ago, this is more the peacetime house. You weren't worried about much, and a lot of people would just kind of get outside to make their houses look nice. Now these first two are not traditional. These came after settlers got here. They taught us how to make these and gave us the tools required to craft them. The more traditional ones will be like that one over there. That's the original winter house known as the sweat house. It's like an old school sauna. It'll stay warm, and whenever you need to heat up, you'll take those rocks and pull them outside, heat them up in a fire, and then use gear hammers to roll them back in. You just take that snow and pour it over it and make steam. If you guys want, you go to either one, just please watch your head on the sweat house.
So what if they didn't have these houses and they had these that you would they?
What's your head here?
Yeah, so this will be the winter time.
Okay.
Wow.
Not here. So for us, it's more of a garden or largely a trader's room. But that's dramatic like the ones out west. They'll be chasing their food. For us, we made gardens, so we made permanent houses like
Okay,
these.
permanent house only. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Now this is a 1540s home. This is the very first type we were ever found in, and this would have been by the Spanish. Now around that time period, the Spanish were about 5'3" on average. We got anywhere from about 6'5" to 7'2", even amongst the women. So they gave us the nickname the Land of the Giants. Now this house will be more of your summer home, and it takes about 6 months to a year to make, and most of that's collecting your resources. This is not technically a window. This is actually to show how we make the walls. We start off with supports in the back, make a basket weave to go over top of that, and then take clay, animal hair, and straw, mix that together, and place it right on top of the basket. And then for your roof, we'll take wild mountain grass or thatch and weave that together into mats. If you guys want, you're welcome to go in here too. Just watch your step. I'm not sure if we have any firewood left over in there or not.
Interesting. Get some trout over here. So what are those lighter colored trout? What kind are they?
Those are golden trout.
Golden, okay.
Yeah. They're more rare kind around here.
Yeah.
They're more common down in stuff like California.
Okay.
Over California, I guess. Now this would be a storage house. This is for you and your neighbors. If you don't have any room in your own home for your items, let's say you have extra tools, weapons, crafting supplies, it can be literally anything. If you don't have the room, you'll put it back in here. Now where this is yours and your neighbor's stuff, there's an unspoken promise between the village that if you're ever in a time of need, you're more than welcome to anything in here, as long as you put something back when you get the chance. And if you guys go in here, just watch out, there's a bump right there. It's really easy not to get on. That's mainly like skins in there. Skins and wounds.
So what's this area here? I remember that from being here as a child.
So that'll be the square grounds.
Okay.
It's where we'll talk more about the clans and what they do personally, certain ceremonies and dances, things like that.
Yeah.
That'll be after my tour. I'm gonna take you to these last 2 stops, and I'll drop you off at council, and then they'll send you up here afterwards.
Okay.
Now here at the trading post, if you want to buy any of this stuff, what you're going to be using is different types of animal skin. Now at this point in time, the printing press was first developed, and so the rich people in Europe had no way of making book bindings for things like the Bible. So they outsourced to us for different types of skins. For us, the most common we had here would be the buckskin or male deer. Now you can also hunt down other animals like bear. Just for any animal that's not a deer skin, it will be about 2 pounds for one of these. But it works just like cash. For that kettle, it'd be about 15 bucks, while rifles get anywhere from 35 to 55 bucks. And then so on and so forth. Now all we look for when we come to these places is stuff to make life a little bit easier. That way you can be lazier at the end of the day. You know, less chores to work with. They put away clay pots for cast iron, because cast iron heats up a lot faster, cooks your food a little bit faster. Put away the bow and arrow for the rifle, because the rifles make hunting way more efficient. You know, you can bring in either double or even triple what you did last year. And metal tools get put up there because you can use metal tools to pretty much use whatever types of wood. So if you want to make a more secure house like the log cabins, this would be a godsend. Other stuff is going to be decorations. So cloths, beads, watches, and gorgets. That stuff's to help you find a wife. It's like the male and female birds. Male birds have to impress the females, while females are perfect the way they are. That's how we do the women. There's more the man's job to dress up in this stuff to show the woman he could take care of her and her family, because it was up to the woman if you even got married. Are there any questions here?
Wow.
Kind of like modern day.
Where?
Now for these canoes, if you make them the right way, they'll last you a lifetime and well past that. They found one over in, I think it was South Carolina. It was stuck under somebody's boat dock, and when they pulled it down and cleaned it up, it seemed it was in relatively good condition. That boat was about 1,000 years old. Now when you make these, one thing you need to keep in mind is stay away from metal tools. I know it seems a little bit more convenient, but metal tools actually do a lot of damage to these boats. What you'll use instead is going to be mainly fire and clay with the addition of stone tools. So you'll start out with one big tree, pack a ring of clay around 2 or 3 feet around the base of that tree, and then burn the bottom of it until the tree falls over. You'll take the clay, use it like painter's tape to section off parts of the boat, leaving one wall open at a time. You'll burn this one side and slowly scrape down with that metal or that stone tool until you got the whole outside shape of the boat. When you go to do the middle, you'll go to the edges of your boat and pack your clay like 2 walls with space in between to burn fires through the center of the boat. Sit there and scrape that whole thing out until it's hollow. Then you'll get some animal fat and pine resin and wipe that all over the boat. That'll make it waterproof. And this thing will be ready to go. Now that process actually takes about a year, and you would have family helping with that, but most of the process is just kind of waiting for dry weather and then slowly taking the time to scrape it out. These are pretty good boats. Now whenever you take one of these out, it wasn't for fishing or hunting, although you could do that if you wanted to. It was more or less for trade routes. You'd have about 2 buddies with you, and the rest of the boat would be packed with skins. And then after you got back home from a normal trade route, whenever you go to store the boat, you don't dock them and you don't pull them up on the banks either. You'll let them kind of flow out on the water, but you pack them full of rocks and then sink them. And then put a branch somewhere nearby to find it later. Any questions here, guys?
So some of the rivers around here are rough. Would those tip over pretty easily, or?
Yeah, so one thing you would do to kind of offset that, with that waterproof mixture, you leave a big pocket open on the bottom where you just didn't put that there. That part would get waterlogged, holding the weight of the boat down.
Wow.
That way it wouldn't flip on top of it.
Brilliant. Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so that was the end of his part of the tour. So now we come in here. Like a little, where do we? Maybe right here would be a good view. Uh-oh.
That's just off the trees.
The entire village in it, women and children included, as their say and opinion was just as important. So on the outside of the council house, instead of an open doorway like right now, there would have been built a winding corridor wrapping around its building. So no outsiders were supposed to hear, see, or come into the council house unless invited, as whatever was going on here was not made for them. On the inside bow is 7 points, 7 being a sacred number, and also representing all 7 of our clans, that being of paint, bird, deer, wild potato, long deer, wolf, and blue, each one having their own ceremonial eagle feather wands and their own ceremonial gourd dippers. Now these gourd dippers and this bowl right here, as you noticed, are whitewashed, made from a paint of seashells we're in trade with coastal tribes for. We're going to use these dippers in the bowls in our purification process, where we believe drinking clear spring water or herbal tea from the dippers or the bowl was to help clear our minds and bodies for the decisions about to be made in here. You were never to drink out of another clan's dipper, as that would negate any positive effect it had and cloud your judgment more. But it'll be around mid to late January, if it really needs be, that will be, English is failing me today, as you can know. But we'll pick a new peace chief, war chief, and beloved woman if need be, as those were the 3 main figures making up our government. So to start off, peace chief, he'll be around mid to late January. He's either the most respected man in the village, the oldest man in the village, or everyone came together and chose him as they thought he would be best fit. So today that man is indoctrinated as peace chief. He's going to be wearing this white cape and headdress, made of the white hair and feathers also gathered from coastal tribes. The peace chief will have his own right-hand man, his own councilman, made up of 1 man from each clan, and his own speaker, so he isn't really required to talk at any daily events. The peace chief's more daily cape will be made of the breast feathers of the wild turkey and lined with the white hair and feathers as well. The white cape and headdress right here is more spiritual ceremonies, practices of those nature that I can't go into details with you about. The yellow cape and headdress though for more social ceremonies, marriages, funerals, births, whatever it is that calls for the peace chief's attendance. Now, should there be time of war, hostilities coming up to the village in some type of manner, that is when the peace chief will step down and the war chief will step up, taking full control of the village. The war chief's age and gender, no one cared too deeply about. We only wanted the best warrior that we saw fit leading the entire village in that time of warfare. So be it a man or a woman, they'll take an oath not to kill any women, children, elderly, or those incapable of defending themselves, because to do so is dishonorable and punishable by death. Now once they take that oath, they'll be dubbed a kalanu, or a raven in our language, and their cape will be made of the tail and wing feathers of the wild turkey, and lined with black and red feathers. Black is to represent hatred and death towards your enemies, and red is to represent power, strength, blood, and life towards yourself. It's what you would have seen in every Cherokee warrior's war paint, is a mix of that red and black paint. Now, should there be prisoners of war, that is where the beloved woman and her councilwoman come into play. Now, the beloved woman is either the most respected woman in the village, she's lived past the age of menopause, or she is the past wife of one of the 2 chiefs. She has the most say and power within the village, as we are a matriarchal people. So our women were held in such high regards and standards than our men, because we believe the Creator made them to be the most perfect and beautiful beings. And who are we to argue with the Creator's decision? So, if the beloved woman and her councilwomen want all prisoners of war killed, that's what's Pretty much, that's what's gonna happen. There's not a complaint about it. It gets done. Now, if she wants the prisoners to work off their punishments, the beloved woman will now give the prisoners to the clan mothers, as the clan mothers are the head matriarch of every clan. It is now her job to find that prisoner a family who have lost family members from sickness or from warfare. And once that prisoner is placed with that family, it's like indentured servitude, but they're treated like a whole new family member. If they want their own house, they're getting their own house. They get their own bed, clothing, shoes, food, whatever it is they need in order to survive with that family. Because it's another human being. Why are we not going to treat a human being like a human being? Common sense. Now, once that prisoner's punishment is done, if they even want to bother leaving the village, they're more than welcome to go. But if they just want to keep living with that family, 9 times out of 10, they just got adopted in. And from there, they just lived lives as normally as could be. But we'll skip forward in history now to the 1830s, as this is when the Indian Removal Act had been put into effect by Andrew Jackson, so that forced over 16,000 Cherokee people to be forcibly removed from our homes and walk all the way out to Oklahoma. Over 6,000 of those people died because it was one of the worst recorded winters in U.S. history, malnourishment, blankets infested with smallpox, and mistreatment from U.S. soldiers. So it's a lot of things stacked on one another. Now, a few thousand of us had managed to stay back in the mountains, but of those few thousand, the majority were required to stay hidden, as they were branded outlaws by U.S. soldiers. They would have been shot and killed on sight if caught by U.S. soldiers. And the few people that were allowed to stay here on the land were had actually given up their Cherokee citizenship in order to take up U.S. citizens, so they were no longer considered Cherokee citizens now. So it's why they were allowed to stay, such as Yonaguskan people like them, who had given up their citizenship or Cherokee citizenship in order to keep this land within Cherokee territory. However, we ended up still losing the land anyway, so it didn't really matter in the end. It was only thanks with the help of the adopted white son Yonagusca Will Thomas, we were able to get our land back. As being a white man, Will Thomas was able to buy it from the state of North Carolina, and they weren't going to argue with him because he's another white man buying the land. So, once he had it in his possession, he was able to come back and sell it back to us, which is how we found that loophole. So we do outright own our land today. It is not government property under any circumstance of those words. We'll skip forward again in history. It is now the 1920s. Native Americans have finally gotten legal U.S. citizenship. However, it is the implementation of boarding schools by the U.S. government as there is systematic eradication of all Native American culture. As from the 1920s to the early 1960s, the saying you heard very commonly was "kill the Indian, save the man." Because a lot of people were under a misbelief and misconception that it was a choice to be a Native American culture and heritage, and we didn't fit into the American dream picture. So these boarding schools were set up as a way to colonize these children, make them white in every aspect but skin. They could do skin, they would probably rub off that brown too. Those boarding schools were known for the sexual, physical, mental, and emotional abuse of those children. More children had not killed themselves. More children were being murdered by their teacher. The less than handful of now children coming out of these boarding schools are so highly traumatized, they actually nearly were killing off all Native American culture until 1967, when the American government finally recognized that abusing children was wrong and inhumane and finally shut down the boarding schools. However, Canada did not follow that until 1997, as that took the BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, actually having to take Canadian officials up to one boarding school, and they dug up a shallow grave to find over 10,000 corpses of children. And over 9,000 of those corpses had chains around their ankles. So, really taking into account what happened to a lot of those kids. Today, though, we do live pretty modern lives here. We are one of the only tribes that one of the few tribes that can claim sovereignty within U.S. territory, as we do outright own our land. So we do have our own government, police force, hospital, public transportation, child education, and welfare. So we don't really need the help of the U.S. government, but we still follow state laws, state regulations. It's a lot easier to follow those. In our schools, we are teaching our children our crafts, our language, and our culture because we are trying to keep it alive for as long as we can today. But that is the end of my part of you guys' lecture. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We don't have a wording of bye in Cherokee, so I'll leave you with Data Daga Hayu, as that means until we meet again. If you've not heard of Square God's lecture yet, they will be having that here at 11 o'clock, right up here in that big open area of sand. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
The big log you see is going to be suspended from above by one of the logs.
Rainbow and golden trout.
Then there is going to be some bait spread on that stick. Stands to look at the trap. Usually something smelling like fruit to give her a scent for the animal that's there. You're going to drop.
So these are the 7 different clans of the Cherokee tribe.
Ground from the sacred ground. On the outside is a common ground where anybody can come watch the ceremonies that would take place here. But on the inside is sacred ground, and you'd have to go through the purification ceremony to be able to come inside the square. Each of the corners are pointing in one of Earth's directions. The sun rises in the east, so we'd always enter from the eastern corner during the dances. Then we go in a counterclockwise circle during the dance. And each of the arbors that you see here are designated for one of the 7 Cherokee clans. And each of these clans had a responsibility to the people. Take the Blue Clan there. Their responsibility was knowing the medicines that would benefit the children, so they would be kind of our pediatricians. Paint Clan, they knew which materials to use to get the different color paints that would be used in the ceremonies. The Bird Clan were the only ones allowed to gather the golden eagle feathers, and that golden eagle was a sacred bird to the people. And we had the Potato Clan. They had the knowledge of when to plant crops and when to harvest those crops also. Kind of like keepers of the earth. And the Deer Clan, we got our messengers out of the Deer Clan. They would relay messages between the villages. And there was written accounts of them delivering messages over 100 miles in a 24-hour period. That's long ways for running. Right, we have the Wolf Clan over here, and we got our war chiefs out of this clan during times of war. They would also teach the 6 other clans' young warriors how to play our ball game also. Then we have the Long-Hair Clan. We got our peace chiefs out of this clan. And during adoption, when people were being adopted into the tribe, this would have been the clan that they went into. But when all 7 clans are accounted for here at the square ground, then the ceremonies would start. And during the dances, though, we needed to keep rhythm, so we made rattles out of the gourd. These gourds, they grow in the gardens. They're not edible, but we did find a lot of uses for them, like making rattles, But we cleaned the inside fibers and seeds out of there. Clean it out real good, then put in some small pebbles, pieces of seashell, beads, anything that would make a noise inside. And this is how it sounds. Here at 12 o'clock, they'll be having some social dances right here, so come back up for that. Another way to keep the rhythm would have been a single tone drum like you see here. Right? This is carved out of softwood like poplar or buckeye, and they would be hollowed all the way through. And the drum heads on this drum is groundhog skin. Right? This is how this one sounds. That's our single tone drum. This is the water drum here. Right? This is made out of the same material, the softwood, except this one, we leave the bottom piece solid on here. Just hollow that top out, and then the drum head on this one is beaver skin because it's waterproof. And this drum here, it could be tuned by the man that was doing the songs. He could pour water in it or pour water out of it, and that would change the tone of it. And that was just left up to the man that was singing those songs to find that tone. And the dancers were kind of like a form of prayer to the Creator. And the lead male dancer, he would be the one to wear the mask in the dances. And before metal was introduced here, we were using tree bark to make masks. We could have used hornet's nest, animal skins. And, if we were doing a quail dance, we'd have quail feathers on top of the mask here. That would just let everybody know in the common ground that that's the dance that was being done at that time. Then in the mid to late 1600s, we started trading for the metal tools, like saws and axes and stuff. So we started using solid pieces of wood. Then this buckeye mask here is carved, looked like a bear. And the bear, he was an important animal to our people because we use pretty much every part of this animal. The bones, teeth, and claws were used for jewelry and tools, and then even the intestines were dried, twisted, stretched out, and we put them on a bow because they're real adorable. And the meat would have been shared, the skins would have been used for clothing or bedding. But some of the ceremonies, they would last anywhere from 4 to 7 days. It just depended on the ceremony. And when we done the bear hunting dance, it'd be asking the Creator for a safe and successful bear hunt. All right, we'd do that dance and then go on the hunt. After we got what was needed, we'd come back in and do another dance. We'd have a bear right out here in the middle too. And that would be giving thanks to the Creator. That was the reason behind doing that bear dance. Like that, because we used every part of it. Even the fats would have been used too to like make waterproofing and stuff like that. Alright, we also done the eagle dance. And the golden eagle is the sacred bird for the people, and the bird clan would have been making these eagle wands here. There would be 7 golden eagle feathers on each of the wands. They would have been held in place with a hickory strip and attached to the river cane handle. The golden eagle is a sacred bird, and the reason why is he's the only animal in the world that can take off straight from the ground, go up, keep going up, and just go on out of sight. The old people believe that the reason for that was the reason to send prayers to the Creator with that bird. And we only done this dance in the coldest times of the year. Reason for that is when that bird comes down to get those prayers, he's going to bring the cold air from way up high down to the earth with him. And if we would have had crops in the ground, that would have destroyed the crops. And that was the reasoning behind doing that dance in the cold time. Does anybody have any questions about it?
And the clans all lived together in one spot, or were they in separated villages?
All in one village, yeah. Each of the clans is like one family. You know, there's one family there, so 7 families make up our people. Yeah. And you can't marry into your own clan because that's, you know, it's a clan. And how you get your clan is when whatever clan your mother is, it don't never change. It's how it runs down.
So it doesn't go with the father. I thought everything was centered around the man.
No, we're a matrilineal society here. The women own the homes, the dirt, the gardens.
Like today.
There you go. It's finally caught up. Yeah, kind of, it is pretty much. I mean, like it is.
The next dance we're going to do is going to be our Chuliashkisti, our buzzard dance. For the buzzard dance, you're going to see them portraying the buzzard. They're going to be flying through, and eventually I'm going to give the call and response.
When I do that, they're going to act like the buds are regurgitating back the food to their child. So if you have a weak stomach, the bathroom is right up there. Now, the story that goes with this dance is going to be back whenever the land was first brought about, and the creators sent down 2 creatures to scope out the area. One of them was going to be the buzzard. Now for Buzzard, he got out here towards Cherokee territory. But whenever he got out here, he got real tired, and so he got low and close to the ground. And every time he would flap his wings down, he would make the valleys. And every time he lifted them up, he would make the mountains. And that's where we got this dance right here. It's Donna Hisson's Roll. Or our ant dance. Now this dance is supposed to show how our communities will always be working together even if they're separated. And during this dance you're going to see both communities working as ants going off on their own. Eventually I'm going to do the call and response and they're going to meet up in the middle and tell each other Shio. Shio is in our language the way of saying hello. That's going to be this dance or Yo Shantali. It's a Donna Hisson's
Nagore Nisa!
Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Way, honey, yeah. Way, honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Way, honey, yeah. Way, honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah. Honey, yeah.
Part of this video is going to be the Indian gardens. It's like botanical and floral. It's a Cherokee medicine and vegetable garden. So we're gonna, it's an easy half-a-mile loop. This is a pretty little path right here through the woods, very cool. Very shaded. Hear the birds.
I was gonna say they got little signs.
Yeah, I just
beside the
saw
trees and stuff,
that
too.
plant's called dog hobble. Dissolve it in alcohol and source.
I guess it
sorbents
helped you
and-
not to hobble.
Yeah, and muscles to treat rheumatism. Okay. I imagine this would be pretty when the rhododendron are blooming. What's that, black birch?
Yeah.
I'm bypassing all these signs probably because I'm not seeing them. Upset stomach, colds, and toothbrushes and toothpicks. Wow. I would have thought it would have wound back the other way to come out down there.
We must go up and around.
Yeah. So we got a little bit of mountain laurel kind of up over our head. So I was saying, with all the rain we've had in the past 2 months, I don't know how I could re-dry it up.
Kind of reminds me of the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, I bet that water tastes better in the fountain.
I bet it does.
Beautiful how the sunlight's coming through those leaves right there. What have we got there? Red maple?
Yes.
That's a big red maple.
Look, that's pretty in the fall.
Oh yeah. Look at the size of the maple leaf off that tree.
Pretty big.
Yeah. Basswood. Eastern hornbeam.
It's like poison ivy or poison oak. Or two.
See if that's what that is.
I'm not-
Rub it on your arm. They say that's good for facial, so rub some of that on your face.
Helps with wrinkles.
Yeah. Be careful of those moths on there. They can be slick. Scarlet oak. And buffalo nut. We ran into a few of those when we were in Buffalo, didn't we?
Yeah.
Whatever this is, it's very aromatic. Kind of, you can smell it right as you walk up to it. You smell that? Let's get Chauncey smelling here.
Yeah. This sounds good.
One of the funniest things that's ever happened in our marriage was one spring. You know what I'm going to tell, don't you? Chauncey loves to sniff flowers, so she kind of goes up to a series of white blossoms on a tree and smells them, and all of a sudden you hear shoo, and it was Bradford pears. If you know anything about Bradford pears, they smell like rotten fish.
Yeah, it did not smell good.
The one flower that does not smell good. But it was so hilarious because you kind of just like floated over there to smell it. The original what? Oh, maybe so. Man, look at all these. All up through there. And all down through here. Yeah, so we got some sort of nice little sitting area, garden right here. So that's not good. Looks like a tree has kind of taken out this little structure here. Okay, well, we want to thank you for watching this tour of the Oconaluftee Indian Village here in Cherokee, and I hope you enjoyed this educational, very educational presentation of how the Cherokee actually lived. And I've been coming to Cherokee since I was a child. It's one of my first vacations that I ever remember was coming up here, and we came, it seemed like several times a year after that, I think it was, and I just always had an appreciation for the Cherokee people. As I've shared before, I've always been told growing up that my great-grandmother was Cherokee. I never knew her, but we're getting ready to find out. We're going to do an ancestry thing here coming up shortly. So I am very curious as to what my background is and if there is Cherokee in it. I have heard that. I've been told that my whole life. So we're going to find out, but I've just always, you ask her ever since she's known me, I've loved being in Cherokee. It's like I've always felt a connection to this area. It's really something to walk through there and see not just the beauty of the area, but the way of life and the way they lived and the way they survived, the way they hunted, the way they made things, the way they defended themselves. And it's just something to see. And sometimes I think we've got too many modern conveniences at our hands now. We don't really have to do anything. I mean, I know we work, but you know, they lived off the land. So
it was very interesting. They were so smart, and they were just not wasteful, very resourceful, and just knowing how to use the land and use everything, not wasteful, and respected life. It's very nice to come through and learn and to see it. So it was very enjoyable. I would highly recommend it.
So tonight, well, here in a little bit, Wendy has also arranged that we're going to go into the Cherokee Indian Museum. I'm probably not going to be recording a video there. I actually did a few years ago. Didn't post it. It's a lot of reading. It's very educational. It's just a lot of reading of plaques and displays. And she kind of mentioned they may not let you record in there. And tonight, we're going to take in the play Unto These Hills. We're not supposed to record that. That I know for a fact. If you want to see it, it is on YouTube. Somebody else did, but we're not going to. We're going to be respectful. But it is a very, very moving and, well, heartbreaking in a way presentation of the Trail of Tears and the removal of the Cherokee from their land here in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia to Oklahoma. A lot of Cherokee died along that trail, and that's what this depicts. So we're going to be taking in that play tonight, and won't be able to bring it to you, but just letting you know we're going to be doing it. But anyway, if you get a chance to come to Cherokee, take in the Oconaluftee Indian Village, the Unto These Hills outdoor drama, and the Cherokee Indian Museum, and also Cherokee Veterans Park. That's something we did a month ago, and that was really good as well.
It is.
So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe.
Be sure to give it a thumbs up. Find and follow us on Facebook.